Yours on the. Like to welcome everyone to the Emmaus Borough Council meeting. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is that Shana's?
That was the yeah, it's not to be here.
Oh, she's not.
Okay. She's on vacation.
Well, thank you for saying that because I didn't know. For the record, Councilwoman Baumgartner will not be here this evening, and Borough Manager Shane Pepe will be on with us virtually. So he's in Wisconsin, I believe. So personal appeals part 1. Do we have anyone here with a personal appeal? Hearing none. Do you have anyone online? Just the guy from Comcast. Well, we'll have an opportunity if he has a public appeal. I mean, he is on the agenda. Brian, if you have a public appeal, now would be the time to do it. If not, you are on the agenda later in the evening.
Thank you, Councilman. No public appeal. I'll wait till our turn on the agenda. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That leads to community minute. Does anyone have anything to bring forward?
President, I just wanted to tell everyone about Founder's Day in Emmaus will be July 29th at Moravian Church Fellowship Room. Tickets are $20. This will benefit both the 1803 House and Canals Homestead. There is a presentation by Joshua Fink from Lehigh County Historical Society and music. It should be a really lovely. So if you can join us.
Thank you. Councilman Anders?
This is for the guys and gals at EYA, the Emmaus Youth Association. They have their fall signups for baseball and softball, EYAsports.org. They can get all the information. Plus, they have their fundraising wiffle ball tournament. If anybody like to go out and play some wiffle ball, it's kind of a fun day. You need a team of 3 or 4 people, and that's also on their website. It's a fun time and good day out there. Others.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, that leads to special presentations, which we have none. Reading of the minutes, June 19, 2023. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. And if I was gonna say Baumgartner, I'm sorry. Do we have any additions or corrections? Comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes. Decisions on bids, we have 2. We have the janitorial services. There were 2 bids, and it's recommended to award the bid to Executive Building Solutions for option 2A for a 3-year contract with an option of 3 one-year extensions. Would somebody like to place that in the form of a motion? Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions on the contract? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes. We also have the seal coating bid that we put out. There was only 1 response. Asphalt Maintenance Solutions of Emmaus for a cost of $23,650. And that's for the street seal coating project. Would somebody like to place that in the form of a motion? Motion by Councilman Dufresne, second by Councilman Anders. Any discussion on the seal coating bid? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes. Under communications, we received the 5th Street Cross event request. It's a recurring event, so we'll let staff handle that. I did notice in the application it was an LLC, and the only question I have is it a nonprofit or a for-profit? Because I didn't notice that before. For-profit. It is a for-profit. Okay.
I didn't see insurance. There was no insurance information.
The insurance is not attached. So would somebody like to make a recommendation to approve it contingent upon providing proper insurance? Councilwoman McManaman, seconded by Councilman Anders. Any discussion on this? And they want to set up, I believe, in August, or I saw them there the other day. They were kind of stepping out the course, but they have to do some work to knock down weeds and stuff, so. All right, anybody, questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes. We received a letter for Fernwood Street Block Party to close the street, and we'll send that to the mayor. Mayor always handles the block parties. And we received a letter from 2 of our Shade Tree Commission members with resignation letters, Rebecca Strauss and Beverly Springer. And due to quorum requirements, we don't have enough for meetings, so Health, Sanitation and Codes Committee will be working on solutions for the future of that. And
Mr. President, I was just wondering how, not that I'm conceiving of any matters that require immediate attention by that body, but who will be handling the issues?
Yeah, I can answer that.
go ahead, Shane. I know.
So we've met in health and sanitation, and quite honestly, since Reg Bailey resigned, most of the enforcement has fallen on our codes department anyway. So it does fall generally under their duties as well. What we're doing is we're working on an ordinance to either completely eliminate the Shade Tree Commission, or at the very least, maybe keep the commission entitled just in case someday we want to retry this, but to further clarify what the codes enforcement department, what their duty will be with the shade tree enforcement. The issue has always been, and Reg Bailey was great at doing this because he had no problem knocking on a door and telling somebody they had a rotted tree and they either had to cut it down or they were getting fined. But the Shade Tree Commission is quite honestly not something that not something that most people want to volunteer for, because it's not that a tree hugger kind of thing. It's an enforcement commission. It's really kind of an outdated concept, because we're asking volunteers to go out and enforce ordinances to make people replace trees. And if they don't, the power is in the commission's hands to levy fines or take them to court. And really, that should be on a paid employee anyway. That should be under a codes enforcement department. But that's also why we've had such difficulty recruiting members, because the ordinance also states that we have to have an arborist, on that commission. I mean, how can, I can't go out and tell you if a tree has, A, B, C disease on it, right? I mean, really, that's not most people's specialty. And so we've been having a very difficult time recruiting people, and we have to stay within the confines of what the Pennsylvania Borough Code says. So they have to be borough residents, it can't be non-residents, and we need an arborist. And quite honestly, it's just too difficult. So the codes department is really where we're going to, I think, refocus the entire shade tree enforcement piece at this point. And so the committee has asked me to start writing a new ordinance to address that.
Thank you.
And Shane, if I could just add to that, the zoning office already enforces the weed ordinance, so it's kind of piggybacks that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're gonna have to send these guys to, and luckily the Penn State Extension has some good training, but we're gonna have to send our guys out to some training on identifying tree disease and some things like that. But I think we'll be okay.
Okay. All right, so that will still be worked on in the Health, Sanitation and Codes Committee, and eventually will be brought forward to council, I'm assuming. We received a letter from the 1803 house for the Passport to History event. This is a recurring event, so staff will handle that. We have no borough engineers report, solicitors report.
Only item I have is later in the agenda, so nothing, progress.
Okay. Unfinished business part 1, we have nothing. Under new business, we have ordinance 1245. Floodplain, an ordinance establishing floodplain areas in Emmaus Borough Lehigh County, Pennsylvania, regulations, uses, activities, and development, establishing prohibited activities and development, providing for permits, regulations, fees, and penalties for violations. This is the first reading, and I would imagine second reading would be our meeting in August,
Correct.
okay?
Yeah, so
And
this
this,
used to fall under zoning. And the new zoning ordinance does not include the floodplain piece, so we've asked our engineer to separate that out and model it after generally accepted protocols with FEMA, PEMA, and Lehigh County. So this is what we come up with.
all right, this was the Health, Sanitations and Codes Committee, Chairman Belliot, do you have anything to add to this?
We discussed this. This has been something that's been on our agenda off and on for, I would say, the good part of this year. And like Shane stated, it was back and forth with the engineer, and you know, we went through it. He pointed out where the changes and stuff are, and it came out of our committee to recommend this to council.
All right, I just had a few questions just because this is what popped in my head. What effects this would have on future construction? How it will affect the Meadow Pools property? Because that kind of is in a floodplain. I didn't know if it would affect that. Does it affect any current properties being developed like Indian Creek, development on North Street, the apartment complex between 2nd and 4th Street, or any other projects? That's what popped in my head. It was 42-page ordinance. I read through it, but a lot of it is legalese, and I just wanted to kind of know how it affects what's going on. That's all.
Yeah, so if I could just kind of briefly touch on that, Mr. Levenberg, I would tell you that it doesn't change who is and who is not in a flood zone, okay? The only way you can do that is to go through PEMA, and that's like an act of God to get that changed. Remember, we looked at that with the library, and it was gonna cost like 50 grand, and we wouldn't even know if they're gonna change it, and if they did, they would just move the flood zone to somewhere else. So it doesn't touch any of that. It simply regulates what you can and can't do in a floodplain area. There's not a lot of changes, to be honest with you, as to what you can and can't do compared to what you can do today. This is really taking out of the zoning ordinance what was already there and putting it into its own separated ordinance, but with keeping with what generally acceptable practices are with PEMA and FEMA, as well as, you know, what the recommendations are from the LVPC. So I would tell you there's no significant changes to what people can do to their properties. I'm very confident in saying that, but what it does do is it separates everything out into its own ordinance now.
Okay, and I did read in the minutes that you discussed the penalty phase of it. Is that something different?
So you had to decide what the penalties would be if they violated it, and so the committee talked about that in detail, and they came up with a range. I think at the very beginning of it, they felt that you know, if you're constructing in a flood zone, we have an issue right now where somebody actually rearranged the direction of a creek, and it was a local establishment. And quite honestly, like, to do that without a permit is a big no-no. And, you know, the committee feels that, you know, $100 fine isn't acceptable. So they did a range of 500 to 1,000, with the magistrate setting what that number would be.
And did the old ordinance not have any enforcement as far as penalties?
It did, but it was generalized under other zoning violations.
Okay, that's all I have. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1245? Councilman Dufresne, second. Councilman Anders, discussion. Councilman Hart.
In committee, we discussed about the list of prohibited hazardous materials. And we agreed, I believe, to add something to the effect that this list is not totally inclusive. Shane, is that?
I did read that in the minutes.
Yeah.
So we sent that over to the engineer to add in there, John. Let's just be safe, and let's just put that provision in maybe the amended motion here.
Yeah, you can amend, since this is the first reading, you can amend this. It'll be re-advertised anyway. Shane should be fine. That should be fine.
Is it a specific one word, one line?
It
That's
looks like
being
it'd be in
added?
section 6.2.
Two has it, and there's a later section.
Yeah, 6.2, like R, instead of R, you would add in, RST. So add in an S saying as well as other potential violations, something like that.
All right, would somebody like, all right. Who was the motion?
I'll amend my motion.
You made the motion and you heard second.
Second, yes.
So the motion was amended and the second was amended. Any more discussion on ordinance?
Just for clarity on what that amendment to the motion is, what you're saying is, those amendments as per what was directed by the Health and Sanitation Committee. Can we leave it at that?
Yeah, we'll make that the amendment.
As long as council knows what we said.
It was in
Yeah.
the,
Well, that was in the committee minute.
Yeah, I read the minutes, so I know what they were.
That way, John, I can go through and make sure that the engineer, because they just sent Sarah the draft yesterday again. So, or over on Friday, they sent it to her. So I didn't see it on Friday when she posted it.
Can I ask that when we get the next set of the ordinance, can it be highlighted in yellow so we know what was?
I'm going to physically make the changes myself.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
We have to amend again.
I think.
I believe that was the
I
amendment.
think that was the amendment, Mr. Dufresne, so I think you're okay. And Mr. Andrews, I believe your motion and second should stand
Okay,
as stated under Robert's rules.
anybody else? So roll call vote. Councilwoman McManaman,
aye.
Councilman Anders,
Aye.
Councilman Dufresne,
Aye.
Councilman Balliet,
Aye.
Councilman Hart,
Aye.
Councilman Layberg, aye. There are 6 ayes. Second reading will be at our third Monday meeting in August. Unfinished business part 2, we have nothing. Items not on the agenda. Does anybody have anything to bring forward? Hearing none, Madam Mayor's report.
Thank you. In your iPads this evening, you have Proclamation 2023-566 in recognition of Founder's Day. Also Family Fun Night, which is in conjunction with National Night Out, is coming up August 1st. I want to thank Sherry for her work on the flyer that I handed out this evening. If you take a look at it, you'll see that we have the Lehigh County Drone Team is coming to do a demonstration. Along with the Coalition for Appropriate Transportation, they're going to be coming out doing bicycle safety. Bicycle helmets, I believe that they'll be handing out. We have local community groups that are coming. I have the Kiwanis and Rotary clubs are coming, along with Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts. And we have the library, the Arts Commission. We have food being served by members of council. We got hot dogs. We ordered 640 hot dogs this year, so we'll have hot dogs.
I will be missing it now because I have to get there. I just got a business trip over yesterday.
Okay, I'll find somebody else. All right. And then, of course, you have the dunk tank. You have Chief Apgar, Deputy Chief Hampshire, Sergeant Knobloch, and this year we have EMS Assistant Chief Adam Freese. So they will be taking turns in the dunk tank. Also, I've been asked about trick or treat. Trick or treat this year is October 27th, which is the last Friday of the month from 6 to 8. Other than that, progress.
So we play Parkland or a home or
No, I
away?
didn't check.
'Cause it's always the
We
night
always
of
have a
Parkland.
Football game, so I don't know. I don't know where, last year we were home, so this year. we'll probably
Yeah, we'll
away.
be away. All right,
Progress.
committee reports, Public Works Committee, Chairman Anders.
I do not have anything for official action. We will meet on Wednesday, this Wednesday, July 19th at 4 p.m. via Zoom, and I'll report progress.
Great. Health Sanitation and Codes Committee, Chairman Balliet.
Thank you, Mr. President. We took care of one action item already, which was our floodplain ordinance. Our next action item is the Emmaus Commerce Center is requesting a security reduction. We have a letter from our engineer recommending the release of $74,894.62. It going over all of the notes, stuff they've completed everything to allow this to happen. So I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilman Balliet. Is there a second? Councilman Hart, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes.
Our meeting notes are attached from our last meeting. Our next meeting will be July 26th at 4:45. And with that, I'll report progress.
Thank you. In lieu of Shannon not being here, would Councilman Anders or Councilman Balliet like to give the report? All right, Councilman Balliet?
Thank you, Mr. President. Our last meeting was on July 5th. It was actually not on a normally scheduled day, but it was properly advertised. With that meeting, the only thing for official action would be to recommend Justin Fulmer to the Recreation and Entertainment Commission with a term expiring June 7th, 2026.
Motion by Councilman Balliet. Is there a second? Councilman Hart. Do we know how many, is it a full commission yet? We expanded that to 9, didn't we?
Yeah, we're definitely still way short.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
think this puts him to 4, maybe 5. Four.
Justin's here this evening. Thanks for stepping up. We appreciate, we do need the help. Was there, oh, yeah, it was seconded by Councilman Hart. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes.
Next meeting, August 1st, 4:45 on Zoom. And with that, I will report progress.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee, Chairman Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. There were no meetings since our last council meeting, therefore there's no action required at this body. Our next meeting is scheduled for July 27th at 9 a.m. via Zoom. With that, I report progress.
Thank you. General Administration Committee is myself. We have the security lot cameras. We received a quote from TDS Technologies for $5,585 for security cameras, and this is for our new public parking lot downtown. It was recommended from the committee to purchase these, and would somebody like to make a motion to approve this? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any discussion? I believe it's 10 cameras, so we'll have every angle, so if anything's going on down in that lot, hopefully we can catch it, so.
And they go directly to the police station, correct?
Is it gonna be monitored by police stations, Shane?
Yes, that's why TDS would be supplying them, because they will link them directly to the police station.
Okay, thank you. Good point. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes. We have the Comcast franchise agreement. I'll default to Jason for an update and the procedure which we will follow to approve this.
Okay, after last month's meeting, Mr. Jeter is here from Comcast. We have reviewed the memorandum of understanding pursuant to everybody's discussions. This is now, they will be providing the internet services for a period of 3 years from the date of activation. Am I correct in that, Mr. Jeter? That's your understanding, and that's what your red line indicates?
That's correct.
And your red line has been attached to your memorandum. The franchise agreement has not changed. However, he did provide, Mr. Jeter and Mr. Pepe have looked at the proposed street construction and what they will be doing with respect to the modifications. There's a plan attached to the franchise agreement. They have agreed to abide by our ordinance with respect to the repair of the streets. So am I correct in that, Mr. Jeter?
That is correct. And we also provided what our standard practices are. Sarah and Shane were kind enough to send back to me the borough ordinance on street repair. So we'll cross-reference that with our construction team. I did start that process this afternoon. And we'll take a look and review, but we have no issues with the ordinance as of that I'm aware of.
And while there is no, they can't put it in writing with respect to a firm commitment, they have indicated that they will provide some support to the Emmaus Community Foundation. Am I correct in that, Mr. Jeter?
That's correct.
Okay, so as to the order, is it gonna be the agreement first?
It doesn't matter tonight.
Okay.
Because all of the proposed changes we discussed at the last meeting have been included in both the memorandum of understanding and the franchise agreement, as well as the exhibits. Mr. Pepe, did you have any questions with respect to the properties that they've included on the memorandum of understanding?
No, I believe I'm good with that. Let me take a look.
It's exhibit A on that second agreement.
And does anyone else on council have questions?
The only thing is where it says Borough Public Works.
Which one?
28 South 4th Street.
He's on exhibit A, item number 3.
So the addresses are definitely incorrect. Borough Hall is going to be at 28 South 4th Street. Public Works is going to be at 44 Kleins Lane.
All right, are you okay with those amendments, Mr. Jetter? I'm okay with.
No problem.
Okay, then those amendments, then you can approve it subject to those amendments in whatever order you see fit.
Okay, so we will do the letter of understanding first. Would somebody like to make a motion? That's the one that was amended, correct?
That is the one that was
All right,
amended
so
to
would
address.
somebody like to approve the amended letter of understanding? Councilman Hart, seconded by Councilwoman McManaman. Any more questions? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes. And then we have the franchise agreement between the borough and Comcast. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve that? Councilman Balliet, seconded by Councilman Dufresne. Any questions on that? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes. Wow, that made up for last time, huh?
Yeah.
Congratulations. Do you have any timeframes on when this is going to get rolling so the public knows?
I appreciate council's leadership here and certainly working with Shane and Jason over the last couple of months. Once we have the franchise executed by the borough, and then Comcast will in turn very quickly put signatures on it, we'll schedule a meeting where Shane tells us or with whom. Probably, I guess, Public Works. I'll defer to Shane on that. Then our just general practice would be we'll talk to the staff, Public Works or others, about the rollout of our construction schedule. There are, just a reminder, there are basically 2 phases of the construction. There is some underground construction that will be happening. We'll submit those locations if there are any street disturbances where they may be. We want to talk about where there may be a road moratorium, or if you're working on roads today, we can work on those roads while you're working on them. So, we want this to be a collaborative and transparent process, but we'll submit that information to Shane and staff so they have an opportunity to take a look at it. We'll eventually provide a map. We would like to get shovels in the ground, I would say likely within 60 days. We've already started the pole permit process, so that's the second half. The first half would be an underground construction, and then the second half is aerial construction, which we have those relationships with the pole owners in the borough. We are waiting for those permits to come back. So I would anticipate we would start construction in the fall, if not sooner, unless the borough has some outstanding questions about the underground, and we would start to activate service probably first quarter 2024.
Mr. Jenner, am I correct that less than 20% of the build is underground, correct, in this process?
That is correct. Yep, to my knowledge, yes.
Yeah, Brian, so we have a couple major projects coming up here in the next few months. So I come back from vacation on Monday. It might be a good idea for you and I to have a conversation early next week. So that way, for example, we're doing a half a mile of South 2nd Street that we want to let you touch. And that project starts, in a couple months. So that might be one where you're going to have to kind of get into the ground if you're going to dig in the ground down there.
Okay.
Sooner than later. So I think there's a couple that we're going to talk about right away. Just so that you can get your lines ran in that area without any problems.
Great. Yeah, we're happy to talk to you about all those projects and how we can expedite our work, or at least work alongside the borough so we don't disrupt. And I'm happy to answer any other questions, and I appreciate the time.
Anybody else on council? Doesn't look like there's any questions. Thank you very much, and
Thank you.
good luck with your adventure there.
Thank you. Yep, we look forward to serving the residents. Thank you very much.
All right, take care. All right, that concludes general administration. Shane, should we leave it open till Wednesday to decide if we're gonna meet on Thursday, or should we just cancel now?
I'm not gonna have anything for Thursday for you.
All right, so we will officially cancel GA meeting tonight, and we will meet 2 weeks after that then, which will still be before the next meeting, so. All right, Budget and Finance Committee Chairman Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have resolution 2023-22. Bill list resolved by Borough Council authorizes payment of the July 17th, 2023 bill list as follows. Bill list $1,116,649.82. Payrolls number 13 and number 14, $382,217.33. Payroll taxes, $120,659.87, for a total of $1,619,527.02 done the 17th of July, 2023. And I put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilman Dufresne to approve the bill list. Is there a second? Councilman Hart, any questions? This is more for just educating me. There were 25 charges on the charge card for swimming pool and 14 for the parks. And most of those were for food. And I'm just wondering why there's so many, and do we not cut checks for vendors for those items anymore? Or is it just easier that way? I'm just curious as to why there's so many, because I don't remember them not being that many of them.
Yeah, there have been that many of them. So one of the big issues that we have, Brent, is, you know, we used to be able to order from, I forget what the food vendor was that would actually deliver to the building. They've stopped, just like they've stopped doing that at school districts.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you read or heard about that dilemma over the past 2 years, where, you know, schools are ordering pizza from restaurants to feed the kids at this point. We had that same issue. So we are now, you know, our pool manager for the last 2 years has been going to places like Sam's Club, et cetera, et cetera. So you're seeing those charges more on the credit card. As long as we pay within the 30 days, we're not paying interest on that bill.
Okay. And then my other question was, just like personal credit cards, you earn rewards money and stuff. Are we able to do that being a borough, that you get rewards money?
So I can't answer that. I think our cards are, but I'm not sure.
I'm just curious, because if we're gonna do it, we might as well try to get, you know, something out of it. That's all.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't really answer that right now.
Good enough. All those in favor of the bill list, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes.
Next, we have lease agreement for 151 East Minor Street. But we've had a lease with them for a while. That's East Penn Neighbors Helping Neighbors. All this lease is doing, and Shane, you can add anything at the end if I miss anything. It's making it a yearly lease that has a 1.5% per year increase, automatic increase. It was not in there prior, so, you know, we have inflation and stuff, it keeps going up. So I want to at least address it some in our lease documents here. It also gives us and them the ability to get out of the lease at any given time. And again, we're working in a partnership with them to help our own, you know, residents that are homeless here. So those are really the only significant changes in the lease. It's just more formalized lease. Shane, do you have anything to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, and I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Motion by Councilman Dufresne. Is there a second? Councilwoman McManaman. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes.
Thank you. And then you can see in there the budget performance for the second quarter and also the significant revenues and expenses. And you can see our meeting notes from July 6th. Shane, I would assume we will not have a budget and finance committee meeting on Thursday. Is that correct?
Mr. Dufresne, I'm good with not having it. I mean, we would still have 2 before your next council meeting.
Okay, then we'll cancel the July 20th one, and our next meeting then will be 2 weeks after July 20th in August at 11 a.m. on Zoom. So I report progress.
Thank you. Community Relations Planning and Development Committee, Chairwoman McManaman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing for official action this evening, but you will see meeting notes from our June 26th meeting. I'd like to note that we have 4 new picnic tables and benches at Triangle Park. One is ADA accessible. This was possible through the Chamber Foundation grant. We have already submitted for the next round of Chamber grant, and it is for trash and recycling receptacles. So thanks to Mr. Carl and Public Works for their help in ordering and installation. Our next meeting is Monday, July 24th. I report progress.
Thank you.
Ms. McManaman, if I could, I received an email this week saying we were awarded that grant for the receptacles.
Awesome, thank you. I did not hear that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good. All right, board and commission meeting notes. There's 3 sets there for you to read and catch up on. Personal appeals part 2. Anyone here have a personal appeal? We have anyone online? What is iPhone 7? Is that a resident? All right, so we'll unmute our virtual guests. If you have a personal appeal, just state your name and your address and what your appeal is. Now would be the time. All right, hearing none. Borough managers report.
So I have a couple things. First of all, we are rehiring Michael Himes as a part-time firefighter. Mr. Himes previously worked for the borough. He left the borough for a full-time firefighter job, which, you know, we were excited for him about. It was a loss for us. He's decided to move back into the area due to some family obligations, and you know, wanted to reapply, and you know, we welcomed him with open arms. So I'm happy to have Mr. Himes back as a part-time firefighter. The other thing is, Mr. Ladenburg, I would like to have an executive session tonight to talk about litigation, real estate, and personnel in the administration office, if I could.
Okay, and we'll do that after president's business. All right, progress?
Progress.
All right. Under president's business, I should have brought this up under communications. I received 2 letters. One with regard to nighttime fishing at Furnace Dam, and that was referred to Parks and Recreation. And the second letter was a letter referring to handicap admission at the community park pool again, different issue than the one we had before, and that will also go to Parks and Recreation. Am I right on that, Shane?
Correct.
Okay. Also under president's business, I'm happy to announce that not only am I going to be a grandfather once, but I'm going to be a grandfather twice, as both my boys are going to be fathers in the next, one at the end of this year and one at the beginning of next year. So
Congratulations.
quite exciting in the Ladenburg household, and
Close
very
cousin.
exciting. So with that being said, we will go to executive session. Before we go into executive session, we'll let the press ask questions and then we'll come out of there. Is there expected actions to be taken after executive session, or can we dismiss the press then?
No, I don't believe there's any formal action you'll need to take.
Okay. So before we go into executive session,
Toward what time you guys recess?
all right, we're going into executive session at 6:37. All right, we're back out of the executive session at 7:01. Is there a motion to adjourn? Councilman Valiant, seconded by Councilman Hart. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? There are 6 ayes. Meeting adjourned at 7:01. All right, we gotta stop you with